Hi everyone, welcome to this channel. Now today my topic for discussion will be using minimal hosting to migrate ASP.NET Core 3.1 projects to the latest 6.0, ASP.NET 6.0. So here is the blog version or the the code for this project. Use minimal hosting to migrate ASP.NET Core 3.1 projects to the latest in ASP.NET 6 on my website, which will be in the description below, this entire link, and you'll get all the pieces of this YouTube video over into this website on this blog site, and it tells you the conceptual details as well as everything that is covered in the YouTube video, and you can copy and paste and create your own project and play around. So now let me switch over to the this YouTube video and start explaining. So basic program file for minimal hosting model. Now it uses only one file, Program.cs, and a few lines of code, and in the most basic form it looks like this. Var builder equals is assigned web application.create builder args, and var app is also initialized as builder.build. Build method is called on builder object, and then app.mapget extension method is called, in which a lambda expression, the anonymous function, is passed which writes hello world, and then app.run. So these are just the most basic template when you want to create a ASP.NET 6 web application. And here are the features. If you go back again to the last, these 4 lines, you can see that it uses just 4 lines of code, and it is just one program file. So it reduces the number of files from 2 program and startup to just a program file, and it uses top level statements to minimize the code required for an app, and it uses global using directives to eliminate or minimize the number of using statements lines required. Now, for the sake of those who are not familiar with the top level statements, let me speak about the top level statement in a bit. Now this is, you can see that you can now write a console application in C#, like console.writeLine single line hello world, and it doesn't have any main method. So what happens is that there is only one top level file. Now it gets rid of this main method in the program file. Now an application must have only one entry point. As you know, the project can have only one file with the top level statement. This is the top level statement. That means it's just one statement in the file. And by convention, it is a program file. So this will actually compile and build to show hello world on the screen, black screen on the command line. Okay. So putting top level statements in more than one file in a project results in this compiler error. CS8802, only one compilation unit can have top level statements. And further, a project can have any number of additional source code files, but that don't have top level statements. Okay. So there are no other entry points allowed. That means if there is a top level file like that Program.cs file or program class, it does not allow any other entry points, okay, apart from this one. This implies that although you may write a main method explicitly, even if you write any method and create a main method explicitly by yourself, it cannot act as an entry point, or it cannot function as an entry point. So be aware of that. And if you try to make some other main method as an entry point, it will come up with this error. The entry point of the program is global code, ignoring the main entry point. Okay, so in a project with top level statements, you can't use the main compiler option in the command line, command prompt, to select the entry point, even if there are one or more main methods. If there are more main methods, it is still not allowing you to select that other any other class file's main method if you are using the top level statement. So you can right click and click the property of that project you can still not set any other, you will not get any other main method available to be set as the entry point. All right, and about using global using directives to eliminate the number of using statements, I have created a YouTube video, and it's available here on this URL, which will again be on the description of the YouTube video for this movie. And so I will just leave the global using directive for this particular video for minimal hosting, and let's move on to the main part, that is how to carry out the minimal hosting model. Now I have flipped over to Visual Studio 2022, and I will start working from the previous project where also we had created a video on how to easily migrate it from ASP.NET Core 3.1 to ASP.NET 6, and I will continue with that project. And if you want to verify, it is the same solution with these two projects, Web API.cs project with target framework. We have already migrated to .NET 6. Now for this project and the Web API Consume project, all we are going to do is to migrate, to modify this migration so that it uses the minimal hosting model. All right, so you can see that there is a startup file, and we have not changed the startup file. The program file was also as it was. Okay, so now what we will do is, now if we inspect this, go back to the startup file, we see that we have configured a third-party Serilog package. Okay, so there is a Serilog package, and for logging, and we have got course, cross-origin resource sharing. So where was the cross-origin resource sharing? Here, add course. Okay, and the Serilog package was, we have configured here in the app settings, and then we are reading from that app settings file. Just one second, the app setting file is open. So Serilog, okay, you have set up this Serilog in the app settings.json file, right? And now what I will do is that, as I have told you already, that these two files will be unified by one program file, so I will not require the startup class anymore for both of these projects. Okay, so I will just, for the timing, I will not delete it, but I will remove it from the I will exclude it from the project, and then that means as if the file is no more there, it's not acting, it is deleted in essence. Okay, even though it is there. Okay, so this startup file, I will just close that window, that navigation pane, and then in the program file I have got something copied on my clipboard just to save a lot of time. I'll start explaining after I've pasted that code on my clipboard. So Control A, and then just delete it, or just rewrite, overwrite, and then Control V. Okay, so this is the simplified, you can say unified program file with a lot of changes, with a lot of squiggly lines. Okay, so these squiggly lines I will take care one by one. So here, this web application, this namespace does not exist in the current context. So potential fixes is that, I have to use this Microsoft.ASP.NET Core.Builder. Okay, so I will this using Microsoft.ASP.NET Core.Builder. Okay, and then log.logger. So let's see what is the potential fix using Serilog. So Serilog package we have already included, so I can use this using Serilog statement over there, and then var.log.logger. This logger does not exist in the type log. Now let me first fix what I can fix easily with these squiggly lines. So add significant, that this potential fix is that you need to use Microsoft.extension.dependency injection. Okay, so it has taken care of all this, and iCustomer repository using Web API.models folder, because that has access to iCustomer repository as well as iOrder repository. So that has fixed most of the stuff, most of the squiggly lines. And app.environment.isDevelopment environment, this is the fix is using Microsoft.extensions.hosting. Okay, so this has taken care of all but this new log.logger, which I will come back in a second. The problem is now sorted out. So this should be log.logger equals new logger configuration dot minimum level dot debug dot write to file. So I am writing it to a file and I am hard coding it rather than getting it from the app setting.json, which I was getting previously. But there is no easy way for me to do that. So I am just hard coding that the log will be written to this file. Okay, you can always change it to any other file that you want. Now, on inspection of this startup, inspection of this program file rather, we find that a new web application is used at the top. Okay, so this is the web application used to configure the HTTP pipeline and routes, and it is used to create a web application builder object. Okay, that is the var builder. So you can see the type is web application builder type. Okay, so web application which calls create builder method to create a web application builder object. Okay, now the configure service and configure methods of the startup class have been done away with. Instead, the services property of the web application builder type, the services property of this is web application builder dot services type, and then add singleton is called. Okay, calls the various extension methods directly and adds them to the collection of services which was carried out by the configure services method in the earlier startup classes, like builder.services.add singleton, builder.services.add course, builder.services.add controllers with views. Now the configure method, this was about the configure services method. Now the configure method, which used to implement the middleware pipeline, is now achieved by building the by calling the build method of this builder object, web application builder objects. So by calling the build method of the web application builder object, you will actually creating the middleware pipeline. Okay, and then this app type, which is again a web application, it calls these extension methods like earlier days. Use exception handler, error, use HSTS, okay, and use static files, use routing, which we are always were already familiar with till ASP.NET 5. So now this part of the program file rather than the startup file is creating the middleware pipeline. Now here I have created the Serilog package to write to my file, as I told you, ctemp log text, by initializing the logger in the Program.cs file directly. Now I can further reduce by creating global using statements with a global using statements file and get rid of these using statements in this program file further. Now I can do that quickly. I can create within the Web API root project, I can create a file, add class, now let me create a class, global using class, and in this global using class I'll get rid of everything, and then I will use all of these statements, cut it from there, copy it, paste it, and then I'll use the global keyword before the using statement for everyone. and then save it. Sorry. Save it, and then program file will be fine, and then I can just try building it once. Build solution. Build started. Now I have applied the minimal hosting only to the Web API project, which I am now going to do for the MVC, Web API Consume project. So this is actually building. So this both the projects have built it successfully. Build 2 succeeded, but I'll have to do it yet for this Web API Consume project, which I will do now. So I will now open this startup. I will just close all other but the startup file and the program file for the Web API Consume, because the other project, Web API project, is done away with. So close all but this, and then this program file, and then I will, like before, I will actually remove this, exclude this from the project. Okay, and then I will use a global extension, global using file, like the same way. So write add class, get rid of everything, and use the minimum number of using statements used for the program file. Save it, paste it over here, and put global statement below, sorry, in front of using. So global using, again global using, save it again. Now I have to change my program class. So now what I have done is that I have actually recreated the program file and startup file. All that is shown here, it is now out of this. This is now excluded from this Web API Consume project, and my program file is nice little few lines. Okay, and you don't have any configure and configure services method, and I have got all these global statements. And if everything is all right, it will still build solution. Both the solutions will be again rebuilt or built. Just build one succeeded because the other was up to date. One was up to date. Okay, now if we wish to run this, this is all done now. The minimal hosting is now in place. Now, one more small change before I could run this application. In this program file for this Web API project, I had to use this app.use endpoints, so that endpoints are mapped to the controller root with the name as default, and pattern controller is home, action index, and ID is nullable. Okay, so if with all these changes, if we now run this application, and before that, if we again look in the properties to see both are multiple startup objects. Yes, both are in the startup, multiple startup projects. And if you click on this start button or start without debugging, it will now bring the application, both the applications together. So you have to make sure that the Web API is also running, which is this localhost at port 6478. Yours will be different, and this is on this port. All right. So make sure your API project is running, which is now running. And if you click on here, as before, you can just click on add customer. Okay, you can go back. You can go to the order page. It's all the orders. You can delete it, update it, or do whatever. So that marks the end of the minimal hosting application. So all the best. Thank you very much, and please come back again and Do subscribe to this channel, share it with your friends, and put your valuable comments.